Welcome back to the podcast. Today is another fun episode because you're going to hear from a private client who's been working on her money since February of 2023. So you're going to hear from Patrice today, who owns a thriving bridal and, no, I say it wrong every time, bridal hair and makeup business. And when she comes to the calls, no matter if it's on a group call or a private call, she literally lights up the room, and we look forward to seeing her every single time. So we're really excited to hear from you today, Patrice. And we're excited for people to hear your money story specifically and what has changed for you since getting control of your money, because I think that there are millions of women who are currently in the situation that you were in when we first started working together. So welcome, Patrice.
Thank
And
you.
before we even met, I want you to just give us a rundown of where you were at before you and I even knew about each other.
Oh, geez. All right. So starting at birth now. But let me say this. I think it is important to talk about my money habits at first, and then what led me to you. So I grew up with this idea, and no fault to my parents, right? Like they did the best that they could. They did everything for us in their power. But that's where you learn a lot of your habits from, especially when it comes to money. So we saw, oh, we can't afford this. Oh, next paycheck. No, that's not in the budget. So a lot of blocks happened when I was younger when it came to money. And by the time, and this is a very short story, but by the time it came for me to make my own, I was like, what? Nobody can tell me that I can't get it. I mean, except for the bank, when you
Right.
run out of money. But it felt so good for the first time to have my own money, and like nobody can tell me no, nobody can tell me next check. Like I'm in control, heavy on the air quotes, in control of my own money. Later did we find out that I was not, but we got it together. But anyway, I think I've kept that mentality of like when I get my money, I do what I want to do with it. And what I want to do is anything that's going to give me instant gratification. I want that food that's not from the grocery store that somebody bought to me. I want those clothes. Don't care how much it is. I want. So it just felt really good to have like what I want when I wanted it with my own money that I made without someone telling me, no, we can't afford it. You have to get it next paycheck. No, we can't do that right now. So when it came time to start my own business, again, still having those same money beliefs, when money would come in, yes, in my mind, I was like putting it towards other things in the business, paying myself when I could, even though it was minimal. But again, it was still like, wow, this is money that I am making by my own hand. And this just feels good. Like I was almost abusing the power that I had with money. So, after I left my full time job and started running the business full time, I was working in another program that helped me to scale the business and to grow the business. And I felt like, okay, we've seen an abnormal amount of growth and an abnormal amount of money coming in, but I don't see that money coming in. Like, where is
Oh,
that money coming from? Where is it going? Because I feel like as soon as it comes in, I'm looking at the bank account and I'm like, but wait, guys, what just happened? Because I felt like I was making money disappear like a magic trick. And I wanted more for myself. I wanted more for, I'm about to get married next year. I wanted more for my marriage. I wanted to contribute more to my marriage. And I wanted more responsibility and accountability on myself. So I remember messaging you on Instagram, like, hey, here's my situation. I have money, but like I don't. So can you help me kind of figure this thing out? And that's how we ended up together.
mm-hmm. That was a fun
Oh,
conversation because I remember you being very hesitant. It was, I know that I need help with the numbers, but I also really need help with money mindset. And you really, really wanted to be sure that that was a big piece of it. I was so taken aback, honestly, that you were so adamant about it, because most of our clients come in and they think that their money mindset doesn't have anything to do with what's going on with their money, when in reality that's a huge piece of what's happening with your money. Yes, your habits, yes, the black and white numbers, and also the way that you think and feel about money dictates so many of your habits and so much of what you do or don't do or feel like you can or can't do with money. So I was actually really excited when you were asking questions about that, because it made me feel like you were more invested than just like, show me how much money I'm making and how much I can pay myself.
For sure, for sure. And that was important to me too, because I mean, I consider myself to be relatively woo, relatively spiritual, relatively, I hate to use the word religious because I think that has a negative connotation, but I think all of those things play a part in what happens with your money. So I would be remiss if I said, hey, show me the data, but let's not talk about the feeling behind it, because I spend on feelings clearly. So that was important to me to make sure that it was included in whatever work we were going to do together.
I'm so impressed hearing the self-awareness that you came into this money journey with, being so aware that there is such an emotional aspect of money management and of getting control of your money, and why you are where you are when it comes to your money. This is all of our listeners. This is all of us. We all spend our feelings. And I always use that. Generally, I use that when I'm talking about eating. We eat our feelings, but we spend our feelings too. And hearing just that you were so open and aware that there was going to be a big component of getting clear with why you were in that place when it came to your money, like what's the root of it? Because habits are the key to getting out of it, but you can't build habits unless your money mindset is in the right place, so that you can have a solid foundation. So that's a real testament to why you were able, like Becca said, to move as quickly as you did when you came in. You were already ready to tackle the mindset and the money.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Love it. So I want to hear from you, Patrice. Can you tell us what made you think like this is possible for me too? What made you think that getting control of your money and making a big change, what made you feel like that was going to be possible for you when you reached out to Becca?
I don't know that I thought it was going to be possible to me when I reached out. I didn't start to believe that I sound like I'm on The Bachelorette, that this process works. Because they say that all the time. But I don't think I started to believe that this process worked until I saw my activity on paper, on screen, in front of me. Because when I reached out to Becca, I was just kind of like, listen, I heard something great about you. I might be a lost cause. Here's my credit. And I'll be very candid. My credit was a 581 because I had ignored it for years. Am I allowed to say that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Your credit.
When I started, my credit was pretty poor and I had ignored it for so long, didn't know what was on it. And I felt like it was just like this cloud hanging over my head of something that was never going to go away. And I had, in 2022, I think it was October of 2020. Yeah, because we're in 2023. Come on, Patrice. In October of 2022, that was one of our busiest months at that time in the business. And I had a team that was just not 100% stable and just a mindset that wasn't 100% stable when it came to the business. So when I went to pay my team on that particular weekend in October, I had almost overdrafted the business bank account. So I was nervous coming to Becca to say like, hey, my credit's kind of poor. I'm the queen of negatives, almost overdrafted. Like, what can you do with this mess? But what I appreciate is that we both took the time to go month by month, line item by line item, to figure out where, yes, you have the money, but where is it coming from? And yes, you're spending the money, but where is it going? Let's take an in-depth look at where it was going. And it's almost kind of fun when you're working on your spreadsheet and you're seeing, I know I said fun and spreadsheet in the same sentence. I know. I didn't think it was going to be. Wait, can I put a pin in the story really quick and just say,
Yes.
when I saw that spreadsheet for the first time, I was like, dear Lord in heaven, I am back at my corporate job. But it is so much fun to plug the numbers in, to plug in your expenses, but then plug in your income and watch that number that you can pay yourself go up. When I did that for the first time, that's when I started to believe, like, okay, there is something to this. It can work. I can get control of my money. I literally just need something or someone to tell me how to do it. I need someone to tell me exactly how much I need to put away, exactly how much I can pay myself. So that's when I started to believe it, is when I saw it actually on screen. Not at all when I reached out. I was reaching out on a Hail Mary pass, last ditch effort.
And honestly, I felt that through DM messages. To me, it felt like you were wearing those statistics like a scarlet letter on yourself.
For
The
sure.
581 credit score, the like pulling money from wherever you could to pay people, not having any money, all of those things, you were saying those things about yourself, but I could feel that that was who
weighing
you
on
were. You were defining yourself as a human and as a business owner by those statistics. And it wrecks your confidence. It wrecks your confidence on how you run your team, how you lead your business, how you lead your clients, how you show up for your clients. All of that is affected by what you think about yourself and how you think you can or cannot handle money. And like it sounds like such a huge thing, but it's this tiny little shift that you could make that it's like helium in a balloon. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like there's no
Lighter.
gravity. I feel lighter. I feel like I could do anything. One of the most interesting things about you specifically is how once your numbers were under control, once you could see every single thing in your business, you started moving, and not in the way that people would expect. You actually pulled back and you started saying, how can I clean up the back end of the business so it feels easier for me the way my money feels? And I remember you saying, if I didn't have my money in order right now, not only would I have to stop the business, but I would have to freak out over money in order to be able to get these processes in order to make the business run even smoother. And I know one of your huge goals is to be able to spend more time with family, potentially like start a family in the near future. And you don't want to be the person who goes to all the weddings, right? So in order to do that, you have to start planning in advance. That's not I'm going to start that tomorrow.
Correct. And when I just take some time and think about what does like the next 6 months to a year look like, I would not be able to project that vision unless I knew what was coming in, what was going out, how much to put away for savings, how much to put away for taxes. Like there is just so much knowledge in knowing your number. And I feel like the term like know your numbers, it's thrown around so much. And because I heard it on your page a lot, I was like, oh God, know my numbers. All right, fine, we'll rip the Band-Aid off. And it felt like this daunting thing, but it is so relieving. And I want to add to that, it just gave me so much more confidence. It gave me confidence about how I speak to my team. It gave me confidence about how I speak in the industry. It gives me confidence about speaking on the podcast, because I know that the information that I'm sharing is information that I know based on knowing my income. And there's a lot of conversations in our industry now about commissions and why artists make the certain amount with certain teams and whatnot. But I can tell in these conversations, and this is absolutely no disrespect to any artist, but you can tell when someone does know their numbers and you can tell when someone doesn't know their numbers. So it is just like enlightening in all of these different areas.
And I want to be clear, that's not just in your industry. That is in business in general. That's even in personal finances. Like we were just saying, mine mind your business, or like knowing your numbers, being a CEO, like you can be the CEO of your family. You can be,
absolutely,
you know, it's not different. How you treat money in one place is going to be how you treat it in another place. There's the dog barking, like we said, is probably going to happen. We all work from home, and this is just the nature of it. So I heard you just mention so many things that you noticed got easier when you got all your numbers together and you were able to take that bird's eye view and look at everything. Like how you spoke to your team, etc. I'm going to mute myself. Can you tell us some of the things you noticed got easier for you when you were able to really look at that bird's eye view?
Be paying that makes sense for the artist and that makes sense for the business. I feel like when I was hiring team members before, I was just kind of like, is this price okay? And just like hoping for the best. And you lose a lot of control when you give that much power away. So making decisions on hiring was a lot easier when I figured out what was coming in and what was going and what I could pay myself. That's the first thing. Second thing that got easier is just working with clients in general, because I'll be 100% candid. This job can be very stressful, and it sucks when you're stressed about your job and you're stressed about the money that's in the bank account. So having that piece of relief of not having to stress about money so that I can focus my time and attention on my interactions with clients, completely easier. Making decisions with, and not just in the business, personally, making decisions with what I was spending for and on myself. 10 times easier. Saving for my wedding, 10 times easier, just because I have the knowledge and I can see clearly, and I'm not just like spending on vibes, because I can spend on vibes very easily. And if the vibe is good, say bye to that money. Heck, if the vibe is super bad, say bye to that money, because I need something to make me feel better. But just knowing what's coming and what's going, what I spend on myself is an easier easier decision, just because there's just some more knowledge there and there's hardcore data to say, okay, do you want this or do you need this? If you need this, now what's going to happen with the, with the rest of the month, with the rest of the 2 weeks? There are so many things that got easier. Grocery shopping, heck, that got easier, because I know on average, this is how much I spend at the grocery store. So on average, this is what I should be prepared to spend in future months. So many areas. And I feel like I can go on and on and on, but watching that timer, I'm like, all right, Patrice, you need to. I'm like 17:55. Oh my God.
Listen, I am so inspired just like hearing your story. I'm sitting here like, tell me more about it. Like, I love hearing about the journey and the mental space. I talk so much about the mental space. I can feel how much lighter your mental space got when you got your numbers in order. I want to specifically, because you mentioned paying yourself. And this is a topic we have many clients that we talk about who they're making really good money and they're like paying themselves a couple $100s a month.
Penny.
Like pennies on the dollar. And I want you just to talk about that. Like, your business is making money. You're having a hard time seeing the profit. So you're not paying yourself. How did that impact your business and you as the business owner?
Actually, hold on. I have to turn this heater off behind me. It is so cold in the basement, but like, look, my cheeks are turning pink. 1 second.
That's all right. Go for it.
Okay.
We're in our living room just chatting today.
Good. And thank God I put on real pants, because I saw that when I scooted back, you could see my pants, because I had on like these beige sweatpants earlier. So thank God I have real pants on.
We totally this is like the real, the raw. We are here to be real and honest about what it's like to work from home. This is just all part of that.
Fantastic. I mean, as far as paying myself is concerned, I was that person that started with paying myself a couple $100, maybe here, maybe there. And I think I'd be remiss if I did not talk about what was coming in versus what I was paying myself. And let's just base it on 2022, because obviously we started working together at the beginning of 2023. So I will absolutely disclose that information. So In 2022, I think one of my highest months in the business was around like $16,000 or $17,000 in that month. I had paid myself in that particular month, I think $500.
Wow.
And what's the word where you spend based on what's in your bank account?
Bank
Is that bank
balance.
balance account?
Bank
Yes,
balance.
yes. So, and that is why, because I wasn't checking in on my money once a week. I was checking in maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. But because I was doing that bank balance spending, when I would check in, that's how I determined what I was going to walk away with from the business. So if I saw just a couple thousand, I'm like, well, we got some weddings coming up this weekend, so I need to account for that. In my mind, I'm like being smart at the time. I'm like, well, we got some weddings coming up. We got some commission that we have to pay. So maybe I can just take, maybe $400 out of whatever came in from the month and then just live on tips and live on savings. So knowing what is physically, knowing what is physically in the bank on a consistent basis is like a game changer. B, knowing how to look ahead to see what's coming in and what's coming out. I know. Won't you know, this thing works. So won't you know, moral of the story. But being able to project and look ahead of, all right, this is what's coming in. This is what we can anticipate that's going out, and having all of those formulas working so that I can figure out what to pay myself is extremely, extremely liberating. And moving into 2023, it was just so nice to know, like, it is okay to make money on your business, because especially if you're, and hold on, let me put a pin in that, because I feel like we are also in a day and age where we're like demonizing money and demonizing making a lot of money. But I didn't leave my full-time job to be, living on oodles and noodles and like being scared of like, oh my God, who's this 800 number? I didn't leave for that. I did leave so that my lifestyle can still be sustained. And took a while for me to own that, but I'm absolutely owning that. So it is 100% okay to be making money on your business while also having other people making money on your business.
Yes. Okay. I have to go back to projections because Patrice, this was a huge, I remember, I will never forget the day that you said, wait a minute, I can see the money that's going to be coming in for the rest of the year. And I was like, yeah, let's scroll over. And so we scrolled the spreadsheet over, and I remember you going, that's before I make any more sales. Yes, that's what you have coming in before you make another sale. If you didn't make another sale the entire year, that's what you still have coming in through December. And I remember you just kind of sitting back in your chair, and it was like almost unreal to you. And I remember having that conversation, and it was like, how much relief do you have knowing in these really busy months, you already have income coming in? And so now you know in advance when you can pull back on sales because you have a family vacation, when you want to ramp up sales, when you want to go really hard on marketing on Instagram. Like, now you get to make those decisions before the months happen because you know exactly what's coming in for the rest of the year. I remember that day, and I remember getting off that call just thinking, her entire life has just changed.
Absolutely. And I didn't even know what, and I remember asking, like, what does this word projections mean? I'm like, how do businesses project what is going to come in? I'm like, do you just like base it on the previous year and maybe like double the number or something and hope that you're going to meet it in 2023? So learning
That's
what projections
guessing.
meant. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I want to make, I don't know, 25,000 more. Great. That's my projection for 2023.
Right.
But seeing concrete, true, factual evidence of what is coming into the business allowed me to be more educated on what projections meant for me. Because I was like, well, I think only like Forbes 500 companies have like projections, not like a one-man small business with some subcontractors.
Right.
When you were thinking about, you spoke about projections first, but then you talked about at the bottom, the formulas telling you where the money should be going and how much of that money, that we made those decisions based on what you wanted to be able to have for you and your family, and what you wanted to be able to have still in the business should you need the money, and to be able to pay for taxes, right? With
Mhm.
ease, with calm, like peacefulness, like you need taxes, here's your money.
Yep,
No,
yep.
I'll see you next year. But when we made those decisions, that was because we wanted to take that mental, we wanted to give you that mental space back. You don't have to calculate that anymore. Now you get to look at the bottom of that and say, great, I need to transfer 700 to taxes, done. I need to transfer 3,000 to myself to pay myself, done. And then you can go on about your day. You could go to the grocery store and plan your meals. You can literally do anything with what used to take up weeks worth of brain space. How much should I pay myself? I don't even know if I'm saving for taxes. Where would I do that? How much would those, like, all of these questions that consume us take us away from our business. They take us away from our family. They take us away from our goals. They keep us farther and farther and farther from the goals that we have for ourselves and our families. And I just remember, like, you looking at it and saying, oh, so I just follow the bottom of this spreadsheet. Yeah, that's it.
Easy. Easy.
Done.
Easy. And I never was someone that put easy and money in the same category. And I'm 34. Not until I was 33 at the beginning of the year did I ever put easy and money in the same sentence.
Mm-mm.
And let me say this, anytime I listen to a podcast where someone has like a previous client on, I'm like, okay, like they coached them in the beginning. Like this is not real. Like you're just like blowing smoke. This is fake.
Yeah.
This is not a drill. Like because I can't believe, and when I stop and think about it, I cannot believe that someone who used to overdraw their bank account literally once a week, someone that until they turned 30 relied on their parents to like, yo, throw me a couple hundred so I can get through the rest of the week. Someone whose credit was in the 500s and is now in the 700s. Like I never, ever, ever, ever thought that this kind of transformation would be possible for me. Ever.
Well, we want to be very clear. This was not because Patrice messaged me one day. That's not where our transformation came from. When you started, you got started very quickly. Like you hit the ground running. You immediately started putting numbers together. You were ready to do the work. And it was really fun working with you because you were actually moving. You were doing the things that you said you wanted to do. And from my point of view, it felt like you weren't going to let anything stop you. There was nothing that was going to get in your way of you getting to the end result that you wanted. But the difference between wanting something and getting it, especially in this money journey transformation, is that you were so open and willing to trust the process. You were so willing to just take one step at a time, to just trust that I promise your best interest has been thought of when we are doing this, right? You showed up every single call, you asked questions, and then you asked more questions. You were just willing to get honest about what was actually happening with your money, and that is where your transformation. It was not
for sure. Well, I couldn't have figured that. I don't know this stuff. I couldn't have figured it out on my own, but I will take the credit for the honesty and the transparency because that wasn't something that I was comfortable with. Like I almost had to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm going to choose my words correctly. I think coming from other situations and other programs, I felt so insecure about what I had going on that this is like the most vulnerable thing that you can share with someone that you've never met face to face before. Is here's what my credit looks like, here's what my bank account looks like. But I was like, you know what, if I sit here and lie and say like, yeah, there's 20 grand out there in the business checking right now, my credit's like a perfect 850, what good is that going to do me?
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm not going to have any change by not being 100% transparent. And although it was difficult to do, and some of the situations that I was in when we first met, yes, they were difficult to talk about, and I swear I'm not trying to like make this a promotion or make this a plug, but I would not be doing anyone or anything any justice if I didn't say that you make everything so comfortable and so relatable that if it doesn't feel like an issue to say like, hey, yeah, I started the year with a 581. Hey, yeah, I almost overdrew the business bank account. Because in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to a money master about how I have not mastered my money, how I've actually done the opposite and fumbled the play very hard. But you have made it just like such an open and comfortable space that it doesn't feel like I'm talking about something vulnerable. And I will say that talking about money is now easier because I know what to expect, because that's a vulnerable topic. Like to say like, how much do you make? Excuse me? Mind your business. Mind your business. Wait, that wasn't planned. That wasn't planned. That was not planned. This is not a drill. That wasn't planned. All right, I gotta focus. But I would literally tell someone to mind their business, no pun intended. But
Totally.
no, it feels so good to be working with someone that it just feels good to talk about money. And it feels good now to talk about money with other people. And that's something else that got easier.
I wasn't planning on crying this episode, but
oh my gosh, are you? Wow, you're a great crier. Wow.
I'm holding it in. I'm a very ugly crier.
Oh, I was gonna say your face looks phenomenal.
No, I'm holding it in. My throat hurts from holding it in.
Mine hurts from all this. My cheeks hurt from smiling. This is what we were talking about. You light up the room and you just make everything so fun and light, and like you just have such a happy aura. I love every time that you've shown up to a call that I've gotten to be on. I'm like, I'm so excited to see Patrice today, because I barely know you, Patrice, but I didn't get to work with you in the same respect as Becca, and you worked together, and I still feel that way. I see it. I think our audience is going to feel that. What I would love to hear from you is if you have advice to someone who is in, Patrice 2022 shoes, like they are not where they want to be. Money is feeling hard. It's a little messy. They don't have great money habits. A lot of the things that you mentioned that you were struggling with. What advice would you give to someone who's in that place? What would you want them to know?
If you were anything like me and scared to just like face reality, and I have a very avoidant personality in the face of any kind of issue, I'll walk away from it and let it resolve itself, which it never does. But if you are, if I can't see you, you can't see me. That was my philosophy, especially when it came to money. And I think that's a lot of people's, right? Is like, we don't look at it. We don't talk about it. It's just going to kind of work itself out. First piece of advice is that it's not going to work itself out until you start to work on it. Second piece of advice is there really is just so much power in knowing. Even if you lay out what is coming in and where your money is going in front of you and you're like nauseated by it, there is still power in knowing, because without that knowing, how do you know what you want to do to improve that situation? How do you know what steps to take to improve that situation? So that's advice number 2. And again, I know this is not a Mind Her Business plug, but Mind Her Business has just been a game changer. So I would absolutely be remiss if I did not mention that joining this program allows you to have someone that's on your side, A, that wants to help you, B, that has your best interests with working with someone, C, that's genuine, and D, that just makes everything so comfortable for you to talk about and for you to hash out. So I'm sorry, Becca, I know that this wasn't like supposed to be a plug, but I would do everyone that's listening a disservice if I didn't say that this program is life-changing. At least it was for me.
Mm. I have one more question, and this is, I really want you to toot your own horn, okay?
Oh, man.
Listen, that's what you get for making me cry. So there are things that you've been talking about doing since you and I first met. There are some things that have been on your radar but felt so far away that you thought they're, 2, 3, 4 years away. I want you to tell us what you have going on now, what you've been able to do because you feel in control of your business and your money, and your thoughts. You're in control of your own thoughts and mostly our emotions. We're not all the way in control of those, but what are some things that you have been wanting to do that you are now able to concentrate on?
Ooh, well, as we're like in busy fall wedding season, I'm like nothing, but I'm trying to take a step out of peak fall wedding season and really think about this. When we started working together, I don't know that I had an admin assistant.
Mm-mm.
I did not. Okay, so hiring someone to take care of the admin, 100% I had the ability to do because I knew what I could afford and what was going to be possible without compromising the other things that I wanted to do, both in life and in business. So hiring an admin assistant to take some of that work off of my plate so that I can work a little bit more on the business rather than in the business. That's step number one. The first thing that I was able to do that I was like, an admin assistant, I don't know. I feel like you have to be rich to have one of those. The second thing that I was able to do is to, I don't want to say take a step back from the business because I'm servicing still every weekend, but we are able to spread ourselves out a little bit more to multiple weddings because I know that I have the ability to bring on additional staff. So that's thing number two. I am trying to think in terms of the studio. Now, we had talked a little bit about my plans to get a new studio, which that did not happen this year, and that's okay. But I had the means and the resources, the time and the abilities to revamp the studio so that it felt new to me, even if it wasn't a new space, new to me. That's thing number three. Oh my gosh.
Love that.
There's so many things that I have the ability to do now that I thought were just going to be like 2026, 2027 projects. And starting the podcast, because that equipment wasn't cheap. And I'm bougie. I have to get like at least mid-tier things to start out because you want to feel good about like the things that you're using and whatnot. Without knowing my numbers, wouldn't be able to get the equipment to start the podcast as well. So
You wouldn't
just so many.
You wouldn't think you'd be able to.
Correct. So it just opens up. Wait, back up. Planning a wedding. How did I miss that?
We won't tell Dorian that was the last thing on your list.
Oh, we have talked about that for sure. We have talked about that. The fact that I was like, oh yeah, and I guess we gotta plan this thing, and I think it's gonna like cost money. Yeah. But I wouldn't be able to plan a wedding. I wouldn't be able to deposit for vendors without knowing what's coming in and what's going.
Yeah. Oh, you have been so fun. Not just today, just like knowing you is so much fun. Being around you in any capacity is so much fun. And no, we didn't bring you on for this to be a promotion, although we do know that it is a life changer because it changed my life. And that's how all of this started. It's changed Marley's life. We've just talked about that today. thank you so much for being not just vulnerable in the coaching, but being vulnerable here today, because I know that there's someone who's listening who sees themselves in you, who sees themselves in your story and what you were feeling before, and they want to feel how you feel today. And that's what we want for everybody, whether it's with us or you go Google something that helps you or you just write it out in a notebook. Like, we want you to feel in control so that everything else is easier for you. So thank you so, so much for being here. Mar, do you have anything?
Oh, I think I've said it all. I'm so proud of you. I'm so inspired. I'm like, I want to get in my spreadsheet right now and just like look at it. I love getting in that thing now. Like you said, it's something that has become fun, and it's full of possibility when you know your numbers. And just listening to you talk about money just re-inspires me to want to like see what else is possible. And I know our audience is going to feel that way too. So thank you so much for your vulnerability, for being honest, for being open, for allowing yourself to have this very candid conversation about numbers and about money with us.
You are so welcome. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having little old me.
We love it.